Alright, hey everybody, it is me and we are going to be doing a early review preview of our new Warrior of the Crystal. Now before we start this video, something to note is I will not be doing extensive testing in this video because I've done this video once. It was an incredibly long video and it got corrupted, which basically means I have to wait 24 hours for the friend unit to show up again, and my own copy of Prene is just not up to snuff to do the kind of test I want. So apologies. We're going to be talking about the unit a lot today. I'll be giving my early impressions, but for the actual test and showcase that I want to do, I'm going to need a little more time. So apologies. All right. So Warrior of the Crystals. Warrior of the Crystals are incredibly premium characters for those who don't know. The first batch, which included June, Setia, Renan, Velis, and last but not least, Astrius, were some of the more impactful characters in terms of the meta, some of them being more impactful than others. June, Velis, and Astrius are still by all accounts today considered to be almost meta-warping units, being some of the strongest and having the biggest impact on the meta at the time of their release, still being very good today. So now that we've come to the Warrior of Crystals Part 2, I have high expectations for these units to be really strong. And thankfully, starting off with Prene, I can say that those expectations have been met, but potentially not exceeded. Because honestly, fist-based users are always a asterisk mark in terms of this game's history. They are potentially have the easiest job, as there isn't a terribly high amount of resistance against their damage types, but neither is there a ton of support. Really, fist users are still kind of just waiting for the thing to come along to boost them into the stratosphere. But until then, there have been great fist users in the past, such as Tifa and Snow, and I think Prene will be joining them in that echelon. So let's talk about Prene, a 100 cost limited time unit that will be reoccurring on future Warrior of the Crystal Season 2 banners, which, quick note, for people curious, on Prene's banner, the old Warrior of the Crystals are not available. Alright, so Prene is a water-based unit, 100 cost limited, with 3 jobs as per usual. Operative and Fighter as the sub-jobs, and Warrior of the Crystal as a unique water job that is effectively a physical-based brawler-type job, with teleportation abilities, HP regeneration capabilities, and sure hit, and a few other nifty features that make it considerably dangerous to go up against. So let's talk about ARM before we go further. And this TMR is effectively a really nice piece of equipment. 322 HP accessory, 10 defense, and 15 critical, with a TMR skill that can be used a single time, granting 4 allies affected by this restore CT by 100 whenever performing a hit. Now that's a nice little benefit, and for a critical based team, if there are really strong critical units in the future, this TMR will definitely appreciate in value. As for right now, it's generally nice, but I would not say that it is going to change what are the strongest TMRs in the game anytime soon. As for Prene's master ability, let's talk about that. Increase HP at water attack for allies, increase slash and pierce resistance 10% for self, and 20% chance excuse me, that the counter does not trigger for your opponents when you attack. So to speak, got through that kind of. All right, and this right here, just as a preview, will be one of the things we will be testing out with the friend unit being in here, but a 3-on-3, which was a suggestion in a previous video, and that's what we will be testing in the future. But until then, we'll just have to take a look at my Prene for now. So, Prene. Let's take a look at her stats. From the friend unit, I can tell right now that she has about 9,000 to 10,000 HP. That is without TMR runes. She has about 1,600 attack, about 33 defense, depending on who the Esper that she partnered with. Approximately 100 speed and to about 105 speed, and about this in terms of natural resistances: 33% for slash, 8% shooting, 20% pierce, negative against her strike, and neutral magic with an obvious a natural weakness, say, against lightning and strength against fire. As for her elemental resistances, a little bit towards blind and poison with what she currently has, but also slow resistance and berserk is essentially the anti-fire package, which is totally fine. Now, let's talk about skills and limit burst. So first off, let's take a look at the limit burst. Here you can see the range on it. It is a 200% mod, only 43 AP. Grant haste to Prene when she uses the limit burst for 3 turns, and this is a triple hit, so it does have some chaining capability and a speed booster as well, and a lot of Prene's kit works towards a kind of speed boosting theme that we are about to see. Speaking of which, I'm not going to talk about the 2 counters that she has from the sub jobs because they are not anywhere near as good as this one. She tends to counter all damage at 30% with this range, 121 mod, but a 150 CT renewal on herself. So she does get a little bit of CT, making her turns come faster, and this is a preemptive damage too. So even if the opponent does potentially, if they were both down to 1,000 HP apiece, Prene would, if and when her counter does happen, she would get the first hit, killing the opponent. So that is nice. Preemptives are always cool. As for support skills, boy, oh boy, is this just a cavalcade of choices. So first off, HP and speed is one of her main job's special ones. Obviously, just really nice, 12% for each, but really, really good. Her next one from her main job gets increased into EX by increasing attack by 24% for herself, AoE resistance of 15, acquired AP of 50, and an increase in defense penetration by 40. Really strong support, almost always going to be running this. Makes her strong against AoE, more attack to potentially kill her opponent with. And last but not least, more defense penetration is always good. And acquired AP of 50 makes her very, how should I say, almost guaranteed that she won't need to use bells in the future. That's always something we are looking for, so big shout outs to that being in her head. But that's not all. He does have operative Valentine slash sweetheart Ildira's job of operative, which does give her the support of move +1 and decreased chance of being targeted, which does effectively work to keep this character's HP high and a higher movement to potentially get closer in to kill her opponent. A good combination. He also has the evasion rate and acquired AP of 40, which I think is only interesting if you combine the 2 AP regenerations total, giving a 90% buff to AP generation, which is pretty impressive. As for fighter, does give her an accuracy increase and the HP and attack support skill, which I actually have equipped for the moment with my current build of Prene, though I will be switching over in one, I think. He has a lot of good flexibility as to which supports you want to use and what buffs you are getting. Now, talking about her job, she does have some really good stuff here, starting with fighter, which has go through them. There's one I'm missing because I haven't unlocked it yet, which is the human killer and dealing damage with the direct area around her. That one obviously pretty good for killing your opponent. Next up, she has an HP Restore ability. Yes, Restoral, that's a new drink that I'll be launching next year. HP Restore of 30% for self. That's important for keeping her HP over 70%. Move to unit panel, which is less important because she actually has that in her main kit. A dealing damage that decreases the opponent's attack for 3 turns and increases her damage for this ability by 40% max if she takes 5 damage, basically the stacking damage. And last but not least, the one I kind of glanced over earlier, increase max HP, restore HP by the amount that's maxed, and increase defense. All of these options are actually pretty good. I would really want to maybe remove this one, the teleport one, but not too terribly much, as it seems just generally good for her getting in close and dealing damage to the opponent. And if you're doing such a thing as clan battle or whatnot, well, 2 fights, the more access she has to the abilities, the better. So yes, that is that one. Now let's take a look at Operative. Operative, interestingly, has some good stuff. This one, which attacks everything around her and absorbs 30% of the damage done, could be another source of healing for her. Next up, we have this one, which decreases agility and accuracy, a nice AP generation from a long ways away that gives her a high range ability and something to do while also potentially debuffing the enemy. Next up is a damage dealing one with not really the greatest range, so I'm not super excited about it and probably will be not just ever using it. This one, decreased chance of being targeted with an increased evasion rate. She doesn't have enough evasion to make her a good evasion character, but the decreased chance of being targeted might actually be good enough to run, just because it allows her to get closer to her opponent and start dealing damage while the tank is still generating a lot of hate. So that is one of the reasons why I would like that. The last ability she has from Operative, I don't have unlocked yet. Apologies. Reduce the damage taken by 30% for 3 self, increase agility by 25% until you receive 1 hit. Honestly, the barrier, it has a lot of synergy with her kind of tanky, hard to kill persona that she has, and a speed boost even for a potentially short amount of time. I mean, if you think about it, the fact that she can decrease her own hatred, a 25% agility boost seems actually reasonable to hang on to here and makes Operative really worth running. At the time of this recording, I haven't really decided which I like better. Fighter synergizes better with her damage type, but honestly, Operative just has really good support skills that allow her to use TP more effectively and get some really nice potentially benefits for both PvP and PvE content. I have to say, I'm really split, but both Fighter and Operative seem like really good options for different reasons. Now, taking a look at her main job, you effectively lose 2 abilities here. This one is a stun ability and nothing really worth writing home about. The other ability, however, is potentially better, as it is a chaining ability. But short of Guild Raid, I don't think that this necessarily needs to be active hit, as Operative and Fighter would both bring more to her hit than her sub part of the job, but that's fine. We're actually really totally happy with it. Now we're going to take a look at her main kit, and thankfully there's a lot here to like. As a matter of fact, let's even jump over in, so take a look at the job level 25, which I do not have access to. And we'll start with that one. Move to unit panel, Dispel Immortal Spirit / Guts, and a 200% mod make this a really strong ability. Not only that, it has decent range on it, 4 uses, and its cost is pretty damn low. Even lower, as we're about to find out. The support increase, and as we scroll down, we'll come back to this ability. In the main part of her kit, she also has another Move to Unit panel, 121 mod, 14 AP cost, 6 uses, and restores CT by 250 for self, when she hits, basically making her next turn happen much quicker. And this is something that Prene is kind of a tempo-based character, where she effectively gets a hit on her opponent and her next turn comes faster. With her limit burst, that's also haste, and she has an AP reducing ability that we'll see in her kit in a minute. All of that points to her being a extremely fast and really scary character to go up against if she gets, especially when she gets close, which she can with so many warp abilities. This one is the one I was talking about. Decrease AP consumption by 40 for 3 turns for self. Grant the following effect: Dispel Protect on an opponent that gets hit by any of her attacks for 3 turns, and increase attack by 80% for 3 turns for self when HP is over 70%. This ability is just really, really good. And yeah, an 80% attack boost for a not super hard to meet condition clause, as she again has a lot of resistances to make dealing damage to her difficult, and can potentially with operative just remain off the radar to keep her HP high. I have to say, I'm a big fan of everything seen here. Now, talking about the rest of her abilities, first off, we'll talk about this one, the large AoE. Increases her defense penetration by 40 for 3 turns, 165 mod, decreases healing by 40, and ignores the float status effect. All of this is just really, really good. Continuing on, we'll talk about the next one down here. Sure Hit ability has some range on it, also decreases single target resistance, so it's not just for evasion based characters. Single target resistance by 30. Most of her attacks are single target, so this is generally pretty strong statistically with a lot of the other stuff in it. And then we have not that one, that's the triple chaining one, which is for some reason out here, even though it's in the sub part of her kit. Not entirely sure why, but doesn't matter. Her last ability here is the one that does get improved into her EX, which increases AoE resistance on the units that it does affect. As you can see, it is a cross-based AoE. AoE resistance of 15 for 4 turns for allies, slash resistance 25% for 3 turns, pierce resistance by 25% for 3 turns for herself on those resistances, and when conditions are met, autocast an ability. Now, if her HP falls below 50%, she actually gets a HP restore effect for herself. On about a 9,000 HP Prene, I got a roughly around a 4,000 HP heal. So if you can do the math, that basically keeps her over 70%, and she gets multiple casts ability, making her really difficult to kill because of her resistance, AoE resistance, and not only that, but also just the fact that she has snow style HP restore will keep her HP high for fights to come. Yes, so all of that is a positive. But yes, because of the error with the previous recording, I'm not going to do actual testing of her capabilities in battle. I'll do that in a separate video later once I have the friend unit, because the friend unit will be a much better representation of how strong she is. I will give my overall thoughts about the unit, especially if I hit the right thing. So Prene, 100 cost unit, physical fist brawler. Pros that I have come up with so far: strong synergy with water and ice. While a lot of people will immediately go Astrius Celeste combination because Astrius Celeste is still really good, I would actually caution people to potentially think a little bit futuristically with JP. If you were to consider one of the newer, really strong vision cards that people didn't have an idea too well about how to use, which is this vision card right here, which gives a good amount of human killer on it. This one works with gun users as well as fist users. So if you were to combine Alaya, Snow, and Prene, that's an incredibly tanky range-based team that has a lot of protection capabilities and is just really hard to kill for various reasons and difficult for your opponent. Also, Chaos Odin goes a long way to making that team viable, as it is a primarily based team. But I would think that with Prene, don't limit yourself to only thinking of it as water synergies, as she could have really strong synergy with multiple different elements. Because job VCs and job VCs kind of being very, very pro fist at the moment. Other than that, that also covers the second point. She also offers a good amount of support and flexibility. She can offer AoE resistance to deal with range-based units. And she has quite a bit of flexibility in how you exactly build her, whether you want a ton of AE generation, her to be stealthy in a non-evasion style way by just having a increased amount of hate to eventually allow her to get close and kill opponents, or, last but not least, having flexibility in her sub jobs, because both of them are good for various different reasons, allowing her multiple different builds, and hard to predict for your opponent sometimes of exactly what build they will go up against. Preempt counter is always a positive on my side, as it just allows you to hit first, potentially kill your opponent before they kill you, but the speed boost both in the main part of her hit through certain abilities such as teleportation abilities, and the fact that she gets some off of her preempt, and the fact that she's just a overall fast character that can give herself haste is really, really synergistic and insane. Speed is always good, you guys. Sure hit allows her to make sure that she can deal with evasion characters if they ever become more popular. Guts removal and protect removal also allows her to deal with tougher physical based enemies. So let's talk about cons really quickly. Fist users still don't have a really, really good Esper, and I never will get a good Esper. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not, stuff is clicking in the background, whether or not the next VC really supports Fist users, and if it has an Esper, that could push this character well and truly over the top. As for a Sounter, to what's to come, that's supposed to be counter, but I'm not changing it now because it's funny. The real question about whether or not Reagan and strong fire characters will be in the near future is a big question mark. But if it is the case, Prene, like Macherie, might be a early released character to potentially something that's going to come down the line, and Prene could have even more strength in the future if fire becomes popular again, obviously, so on. A major problem that I do have with her is actually no guts removal. That's supposed to actually be burial. Well, that one I feel bad about. I'm just going to change that really quickly. It just says guts removal. I think it was something else at one point in time. I'll think about it really quickly while I'm speaking. No barrier removal is a bit of a problem, because that is something that is very popular, and units such as Flag Glassy or Wind Glassy or 100 cost Glassy, however you know her by, is notorious for being a little bit more difficult to kill. So for a DPS unit and a new DPS unit to not have barrier removal, that's a little bit of a sad thing, to say the least. As for dealing with other units, status effects could also be a problem. I'll throw that one in here, such as Charm, Frostbite, and the like. So maybe, here's the thing. Final thoughts is that I would not be running her with either Bells, which is always a very strong recommendation, just because characters who don't need bells have a lot of freedom as to what TMR they equip. But either a TMR fist that has resistances to certain status effects, as well as HP and attack, or potentially running something like Ayaka's TMR or Yuna's TMR for the healing properties, or Alea's TMR for status effect prevention. All of these things could be potential avenues to how you build this character. But yes, overall, I really think that Prene is a pretty cool synergistic tempo-based, hard-to-kill, fist-based user, somewhere between Tifa and Snow, and that is definitely a good place to be. As for her overall success, I think we'll have to really wait for the vision card and see if there's a hidden Esper. 90 costs, please. right hiding around the corner that will appear next week. But overall, I feel very, very positive. I think that this is another strong addition to the Warrior of Crystal lineup. I don't think, however, that she is a definitive must-pull character at the time of this recording, because I just haven't done enough testing on it, and I'm very, very curious whether or not she can actually get there. And over the next few weeks through arena and whatnot, I definitely will be using her in ice water comps as well as water comps, and seeing where her strengths lie and where her weaknesses lie. So just keep tuned in for that. I'll do a demonstration of her a little bit later to show what she is like in battle, but I have to just shout out one more time that Wotv characters sometimes just have absolutely amazing. Let's just scroll down here. Roll in here. Look at this character. I just want to note that the design, like really nice flowy water design. Absolutely love it. Keep it up. And as a special bonus to the people who have stayed to the end of this video, here's one last thing. Her fist-based weapon, which is something that we haven't talked about yet, is a critical up piece of equipment. So this piece of equipment, where on it, here it is. If it is a monk, fighter, or Prene, then increase critical rate by 15, increase debuff resistance by 50 when HP is 70%, and a general increased strike attack by 15. Kind of a little bit more on the conservative side for how much damage she's dealing, but again, strike is one of the damages that could get out of hand if it's just even a little bit pushed too far. But I look forward to trying to push it far over the next little while. So let me know what you think of Prene and her, but I'm going to label her not as a must-pull character, as a asterisk for how strong she truly ends up being, but a really, really cool character, and I'm glad I have her. But boy, do I wish I didn't have to have pitied her. Oh my God. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.